so now that we've done something a little easier, we are going to move on to a piece that is longer and therefore a little more difficult. So instead of having just 3 paragraphs, we have, a longer piece of reading here. So we need to look at it and decide where are we going to break this apart? How can we break this into thirds? So when I'm looking through, I feel like my first section is probably going to be about here. Okay, there's no right or wrong, just kind of go based on feel. You might skim through it and see if if you're going on to like a new idea, that might be helpful. And let's see. Then looking through here, kind of want to break that almost in half, I would think. So I'm going to say about here. Okay, so now I've broken it into my 3 chunks. Now I need to go back, start reading, and start adding in my summary. So this article is titled The Holocaust. The Holocaust refers to the horrific time period from 1933 to 1945, when throughout Europe, over 6 million Jewish men, women, and children were systematically killed by the Nazi government of Germany. This period is one of the most tragic chapters in human history. The Nazi government perceived the Jewish people as an inferior race and a threat to humanity. As a result, the Nazi government, led by Adolf Hitler, organized the mass murder of Jewish people. Their ultimate goal was to kill all Jewish people. Hitler became Chancellor of Germany in 1933, representing the Nazi Party. He hated Jewish people. Soon after he became Chancellor, the Nazi government made laws to limit the freedoms of Jewish people. The government also distributed anti-Semitic or anti-Jewish propaganda to the German people. Hitler believed that some groups of people were superior to other groups. He believed the Jewish people were not only a religious group, he defined them as a race. Hitler claimed that the Jewish people were a disease to humanity. So now we're going to pause for a second because we finished our first section, and we're going to think about how we can summarize this, how we can find the most important information and pull it together to summarize this first section. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and try it this way. Whoop. Bear with me, kiddos. So we're in this first section. And how can we summarize this? So I'm going to say that, if I want to get the most important information from this paragraph and this paragraph. So I'll say, during the Holocaust, and as you can see, my typing is down here. So during the Holocaust, over 6 million Jewish people were killed by the Nazi government. So, and the other thing to remember, since this is a larger section, I can add more sentences for my summary because I have more information I need to summarize. So during the Holocaust, over 6 million Jewish people were killed by the Nazi government. Let's see. The Nazis were led by Adolf Hitler, who thought Jewish people were inferior. Inferior. And a disease to humanity. Okay, so that's my summary for this first section. During the Holocaust, over 6 million Jewish people were killed by the Nazi government. The Nazis were led by Adolf Hitler, who thought Jewish people were inferior and a disease to humanity. So that's going over the most important information. So I have that a bunch of people were killed. They were led by this man and some of his beliefs. Okay, which is really what this section is talking about. So let's go ahead and read our next section. The phrase, the Jewish question, referred to the question of the role of the Jewish people in society. The Nazi government looked to its own anti-Semitic policies as an answer. The Nazis developed a plan for the extermination of all Jewish people. They called it the final solution to the Jewish question. During World War II, the Nazis rounded up Jewish people who were still in Germany and Nazi-controlled territories. Some had already left or were in hiding, but many had decided to stay or had nowhere to go. Allies of Nazi Germany, including Italy and the unoccupied part of France, also rounded up Jewish people. This was one of the ways they contributed to the Nazi agenda. The Jewish people rounded up by the Nazis and their allies were sent to concentration camps. Most of the Jewish people were sent immediately to camps known as extermination camps or death camps. The purpose of extermination camps was to kill all the people sent there. Some of the Jewish people were sent to labor camps. The people sent to the labor camps were treated inhumanely and forced to work hard hours. Many died because of the extremely harsh conditions or because of disease. Jewish people who were first sent to labor camps would often be sent to extermination camps as a final destination. All right, so now I need to go ahead and summarize all of this information. So we're seeing that Nazis had planned to kill all the Jewish people. And they did this by gathering them up and sending them to these camps where they were either killed immediately or forced to work hard labor, basically. All right. So let's go ahead and write our summary. Okay. So I'm going to say the Nazis developed a plan to exterminate all Jewish people. Let's see, so how do they do this? Because I want to get into a little more information. The Nazis collected all of the Jewish people they could find. Let's see. And sent them to death camps or where else did they go? Or labor camps. Let's see. At these camps, so what happened at these camps? Well, when they were there, at the extermination camps, they were killed immediately, and at the labor camps, they had to work in kind of inhumane conditions. So let's see. At these camps, Jewish people were either immediately killed or forced to work in conditions that caused many Jewish people to die. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and fix this spelling error. All right, so the Nazis developed a plan to exterminate all Jewish people. The Nazis collected all of the Jewish people they could find and sent them to death camps or labor camps. At these camps, Jewish people were either immediately killed or forced to work in conditions that caused many Jewish people to die. All right, now let's read our last section. By the middle of 1942, news about the final solution reached the Allied governments, including the American and British governments, but they were slow to act in response. Critics say that the governments did too little to save the Jewish people. United States President Franklin D. Roosevelt thought that the best method to stop the killing was to defeat the Nazis as quickly as possible. He focused on creating military strategies that would defeat the Nazis, as opposed to establishing plans for directly saving the Jewish people. The American government, as well as the European governments that made up the Allied governments, have been condemned for not doing enough to protect the Jewish people from the cruelty of the Nazi government. As more and more people found out about the full scope of the Holocaust, they were shocked and horrified. It is important to remember the Holocaust and to study what happened. Only by understanding this bleak part of history can we hope to prevent such horror from happening again. Okay, so now we've read our last section, and we need to go ahead and summarize it. So we are seeing that by this point, by 1942, everyone kind of knew what was going on, and the United States decided to intervene, but they didn't do so in a way that people liked. So let's see, how can I go ahead and summarize that? Let's see. Okay, so many people think the Allied government did not do enough to protect Jewish people. We'll get a little more specific there. To protect Jewish people from the Nazis, because, we're going to go into more specific details, because the United States, let's see, what did the United States do? United States worked to quickly defeat the Nazis instead of figuring out a specific way to, they're mad about them being saved. So instead of figuring out a specific way to save Jewish people from the camps. All right, so I got the main idea just out. Many people think the Allied government did not do enough to protect Jewish people from the Nazis because the United States worked quickly to defeat the Nazis instead of figuring out a specific way to save Jewish people from the camps. All right, so we took that big, long article and we broke it down into 3 chunks, and then we're really able to quickly summarize them. So now let's read that summary all together, just really quickly. During the Holocaust, over 6 million Jewish people were killed by the Nazi government. The Nazis were led by Adolf Hitler, who thought Jewish people were inferior and a disease to humanity. The Nazis developed a plan to exterminate all Jewish people. The Nazis collected all of the Jewish people they could find and sent them to death camps or labor camps. At these camps, Jewish people were either immediately killed or forced to work in conditions that caused many Jewish people to die. Oops, too far. Many people think the Allied government did not do enough to protect Jewish people from the Nazis because the United States worked to quickly defeat the Nazis instead of figuring out a specific way to save Jewish people from the camps. All right, so now I have led you through 2 summaries, and now I want you to continue working on your own. You are going to have some readings, some passages, and you are going to summarize them by breaking them into thirds, so 3 chunks, and summarizing those chunks. Okay?